Media Day is here, and we are filled with ambition for what the Orlando Magic can be. So what do they think they can be? Today, the sights, the sounds, the lessons, the messages as the Orlando Magic season begins on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is September 30th. It will be October 1st, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the message the Orlando Magic sent, the goals that they've set for themselves, and how the Magic plan to build into a better team today on Locked On Magic. Before we get to any of that, I want to thank you all again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for. Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The message for the Orlando Magic as they begin this 2025 season has been abundantly clear. What the Magic have been trying to do, what the Magic believe they can do in the 2025 season has been clear since May 6th, since the day after the Magic series with the Cleveland Cavaliers ended. Since that series ended and the season ended and this great breakthrough that they had ended. The Magic said on that day, we learned so much in the process of making the playoffs for the first time. We learned so much about what it takes to win every day and win regularly in the NBA. We learned so much about how fine the margins are. After all, in a 4-5 playoff series that the Magic only got by winning on the last day of the regular season, the home team won every game of the series. And while the Magic sat there and, yes, processed and had to come to grips with the fact that they were a half away from advancing and really being a talk in the league and leaving no doubt that they are a future team in this league to worry about, the Magic had to sit there and stew on those missed opportunities. Whether it was the 18-point lead in the first half against the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 7, whether it was dropping those 3 straight games in the last week of the season, whether it was losing to Charlotte a week before, whether it was losing games in January, the Magic said it was always those fine lines, those fine margins that cost them a chance to have home court advantage, to advance, to really make a statement about themselves. And that's been the repeated message. Pretty much every player has said it. But that's looking to the past. That's looking back. That's looking back at what this team has learned. And undoubtedly, the Magic learned a lot from their playoff trip, from being in the postseason contention, from being in the playoffs. They learned a lot. But this is about looking forward now. This is about trying to understand, trying to come to grips with, trying to see how this team builds. It's one thing to learn a lesson. It's another thing to put that lesson to practice, to put that lesson to use. And obviously, you're not going to be able to do that on Media Day. Media Day is the most optimistic day in the league. Everybody believes they're about to win something and do something special. Maybe your expectations are realistic. Maybe your expectations are outsized, but everybody believes in the best version of themselves on Media Day. And certainly the Magic do too. But what's going to define their season is whether they take those messages to heart, whether they take the statements to heart that they made throughout the course of the day at the Advent Health Training Center on Monday. Whether it's them saying, we've got to be more attentive. We got to be more detail-oriented. We got to come into training camp ready to go, better conditioned, not waste any time, not lose a second to get where we want to go, because one slip up is enough to turn us from the 5 seed to the 8 seed. That's the truth. That's the lesson. That's the big statement. And the Magic know they have to be better. So yes, of course, it's about improving. It's about being a better team. The Magic have to be a better team. That goes without saying. But it's not just about being a better team. It's about being a more efficient team. It's about being a more mature team. It's about making fewer mistakes. The stakes, as Jamal Mosley put it, have risen. The expectation has risen. What allowances or mistakes that this team is going to be allowed to make are fewer. Because the Magic showed last year what they're capable of doing. The Magic know that they're still going to get better. And now they have to actually put it into practice. And that takes maturity. It means that the Magic can't foul as much. They're 24th in the league last year, giving up an opponent free throw rate. It means they can't turn the ball over as much. 26th in the league with a 15% turnover rate. As Jeff Voltman said Monday, those are things you expect to get better as a team matures, as a team plays more and goes through these experiences and now understands the value of a possession, the value of these critical moments. Orlando has to be sharper from the get-go. They have to be more attentive. They have to be more, they have to be better. They have to, in a word, grow up a little bit to get where they want to go. Now, obviously, they're still young. We don't want them to lose the personality. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this season is about the seriousness of this task. The fact that the Magic are now a team fighting for a playoff spot. That the Magic are now a team very capable, not just a little capable, very capable of taking this major step forward. That the Magic are now a team that is expected to do all these things. It wasn't said in these dire terms, obviously. This is a challenge that the Magic accept. They want this pressure. Pressure, of course, as the cliche goes, is a privilege. If you're expected to do things, you're expected to meet them. And this team wants that pressure of being expected to get out of the first round. As Paolo Banchero put it at Media Day in his availability, I don't think anyone here will be happy if we lose in the first round again. Like I've said before, I don't know if I'd necessarily call that a failure of a season. We got to see how the season plays out. But this is exactly how the players should feel. It's not that progress is inevitable. It's not that advancement is inevitable. But you should expect more from yourself. This is a team with an upward trajectory, and there is only one place to go upward from where they were last year. A first-round loss would be going back, would be going backwards. And that's obviously not what the Magic want to do. That's obviously not that the Magic are trying to avoid it, but the Magic are going to do everything in their power to take that step forward. And they know how hard it is now. Last year, of course, the Magic had no clue. None of us did. What the journey to the playoffs would be like. The Magic had bravado. They had confidence, which they certainly still do. They had the confidence to believe that they could take that huge leap. But they didn't know. They dropped those games that they maybe shouldn't have dropped. They loved the work. They loved the grind. But now it's at a new level. Now it's at a new fineness. Now it's at a new intensity. And that's what the Magic are going to be battling in training camp because, again, Jamal Mosley said it out loud. The standard has risen. The Magic are expecting a lot more from this team. And while what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish is certainly much more serious, the thing the Magic are going to guard against is that they take it too seriously. At the end of the day, what matters is what Jamal Mosley termed, and I think it's the first time I heard him say this, termed the Magic way. We'll talk about how the Magic are building their own way of doing things coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. FanDuel has so many great offers, whether you're trying to get in on Monday Night Football, which is going on as I'm recording this, whether it's getting ready for next week, college football, UCF now favored on FanDuel over the Gators, if you're into that sort of thing, whether you're looking for the Magic over under 47.5 wins, -140 to win the Southeast Division, as well as 1-point underdogs at Miami in October. FanDuel has you covered with anything you could want. And you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's right, $200 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet on FanDuel. Check it out today. Go to FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. For your next listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There is no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts, all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As I mentioned, the standard has risen. The Magic are expecting more of themselves and conversely, expecting more from their players than they have at any point. They showed us what success looks like and what this team is capable of doing. We will get into the finer points of X's and O's when practice starts later this week. First practice is Tuesday. We'll have plenty of time to talk about what's going on the court and what the Magic are trying to build on the court. We'll answer those questions about the playmakers. We'll answer those questions about the three-point shooting. It's media day. Everybody's confident. The Magic are confident their offense will be better. They're confident that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's going to add to all that. But at this point, what matters is those bones. Like, what is the framework of this house that the Magic are building? And obviously, this is getting to what the quote-unquote Magic way is. What the Magic are trying to build. The philosophy that guides everything that they do. And that starts, obviously, with defense. Magic want to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. They're extremely confident with the additions that they made that they're going to be an even better defensive team than they were last year. We'll get to Muscle Watch in a minute to talk about one big development on that front. But the Magic truly believe they are set to do something very big on that end. And obviously, you got to want to defend. The joke that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope made is like, this is the first team he's been on where everybody wants to defend. This is a team that is about their defense. They take a lot of pride in their defense. And even guys who are not considered strong defenders love to defend. Cole Anthony, he's not the best defender in the world, but he will get after it. He will get into you and be pesky at the very least. But that doesn't quite get at everything that is about the way the Magic operate. And that's been kind of the defining metric or the defining identity of this team. Yes, the Magic are fighting for something a little bit bigger now and fighting for something a little bit more serious. We are asking them to play more maturely, reduce those turnovers, reduce those very preventable mistakes, turnovers, fouls, missed free throws, a lot of things that are holding that held the Magic back last year, and are keeping their offense from being what it can be. We are expecting them to play with more urgency, to prepare with more urgency, to treat every game as something important, because the truth of the matter is, as we learned last year, it is. But while there are bigger fish to fry now, while there are bigger things to play for, Jamal Mosley said the Magic cannot lose sight of who they are, of their identity. And it's not just about how they play defensively, which is a key part of their identity, and the physicality they bring there. A key part of their identity is playing with a sense of joy. It is that camaraderie and togetherness that has made us all fall in love with this team, that made last year's team so memorable. Obviously, it is a credit to the players, and they're still very, very young, and they maybe haven't faced the pressures of failure quite yet. And that's going to be one of the interesting things that could develop over the course of the season, will certainly develop in the next few years. But Jamal Mosley wants to instill in this team a sense of joy of the work, not just of playing games and playing together, but of doing the work, to enjoy the work that they're doing. Because that process, you have to enjoy the process as much as you enjoy the results. You practice that too. And this is a big piece of the Magic way. And I think Jamal Mosley went out of his way during his media day availability to make that point. The Magic are trying to play for something more serious. We will sit here after wins, like we did toward the end of last season, and say that win wasn't good enough. To let Portland come back from 16 down and have a chance to win that game at home, not good enough. To make a critical mental error in a close game, regardless of the opponent, that's not good enough. It's going to be very, very easy to be critical of this team. It is going to be very, very easy to get consumed with the big picture. But this is also kind of the point of what the Magic are trying to do. You can't always focus on the big picture. The big picture is built on each day, on each game, and doing your job and doing what you need to do game by game. Not necessarily getting consumed by where it ends up at the end. Now, of course, we're going to do that. That's our job to do that. But the Magic way is about coming into work every day and enjoying the people you're with. And the Magic hope that they have instilled a culture that values the person as much as the player, but enjoying the people you're with every day, enjoying the opportunity you have, enjoying the work, and frankly, displaying that joy. There's no sense of doing work and being miserable if you can help it. You're playing basketball. Should be fun, especially if you're winning. The Magic don't want to lose this part of their identity, because part of what made the team successful last year was their camaraderie, was their togetherness, was how they made all of us feel, how much fun they looked like they were having, how much they supported each other. And it's easy to do that on the come up. It's easy to do that while you're on the rise, when there are no expectations and there are no pressures. The Magic, it truly felt like we're playing with house money. And I've said this a million times. There is nothing more fun than a team figuring out how to win for the first time. Every experience was new. Every experience was exciting. They'd been to the bottom of the barrel. They were so happy to have the opportunities to win. It was different. And the fact that they did it together made it that much more meaningful. This is a team that's still so bought into everything that they're doing. It's easy to lose that now that there are expectations. You know, they talked a lot about not having the kind of the spell that they had in January, but, you know, Wendell Carter pointed out their schedule through December is very, very tough. they're going to have to be ready to go if they want to accomplish these big goals that they have, these major ambitions that they have. And it's, again, very easy to get consumed with that. And that's not what the Magic want. The Magic want their players to respond to adversity, not by giving into pressure, not by giving into what they feel they should be, but to get to work, to find joy in what they're doing, and push themselves to keep getting better. Steve Clifford used to tell us when he was coaching the Orlando Magic that you can't count on everything carrying over year to year. Every year is different. And you have to spend your time in training camp rebuilding who you are every single time. Now, obviously, a lot of this team is the same. If a lot of the principles are the same, they should be able to move through things pretty quickly. They should be able to pick up on concepts quickly. But like the first day of school, if you remember back then, that first day back, you had to kind of refresh your memory a little bit. You always have to build everything back from scratch. And the Magic believe they have a culture that benefits them and puts them in a position to build this way, to build the right way, to build their way. And they hope that will enable them to unlock the next level. It's a big test. Like, this is going to be a fun season. I want to reiterate that. I feel like I'm being overly pessimistic about the season. It's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a great season for this team. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be in the playoffs. But I want to see how they respond to adversity now that there are expectations on them to succeed. And I want to see how this culture helps them succeed. Because if they have that culture, if they have this thing that they can hang on to and build themselves with year after year, that's going to make them title contenders sooner than later. Those are the big picture items from Summer League or from Media Day. Let's talk about the fun stuff. We got a muscle watch alert coming up next on Locked On Magic. So everyone's favorite pastime on Media Day is muscle watch. And we got an interesting muscle watch they gave us a sheet, or they released the training camp roster last Friday. A couple people kept theirs from last year, and we had an interesting muscle watch, and we had a major change on the muscle watch. Caleb Houston reportedly gained 20 pounds between years. Caleb was kind of surprised by this news when we talked to him today. He said, I think I accidentally said 30, and he got 30 is a little much for me. He's at he was at 215 last year. He's now listed at 235. I don't know if that's true, but we did get one piece of muscle watch that is worth discussing a little bit more. It was one of the more surprising things revealed at Media Day. Jonathan Isaac, listed at 240 pounds on your program, said he weighs 250. It was a 219 at the end of the season, according to him. Now 250. Also of note, worth noting news-wise, Jonathan Isaac has not had the discussion with the Magic yet about his availability, but he believes that he will have a full availability, that he will be available for back-to-backs, that he'll be available, under all circumstances, no minutes limits. And certainly I think the fact that he put on a little bit of weight, not a little bit, that he put on nearly 30 pounds of weight, of muscle, assumedly, is a sign that he is expecting to take a lot of beating and take a lot of bruising and be ready to play full time. And obviously, big summer for Jonathan Isaac. Humongous summer for Jonathan Isaac. First healthy summer since 2019. To be free from injury restriction is such a big deal. Is such a huge deal. And you could tell that he took that seriously. Look, I'm not one necessarily to ogle over bodies. Jonathan Isaac definitely looked a little bit bigger, which is scary because he's a big dude anyway. But it didn't look like bigger in that he's not going to be mobile and lose some of the mobility that he had. It looked like he was like evened out. We'll obviously see how it looks on the floor. It would seem that Jonathan Isaac is expecting to play more on the interior this year, and that's why he put on a little bit of weight. But again, he weighs the same as Paolo now. It's Paolo's a big dude too. But that was a significant story that came out from Media Day, was that Jonathan Isaac put on a lot of weight. And obviously, if those injury restrictions are gone, that's going to help him. The other big story that we kind of followed was Jalen Suggs. And we'll talk more about Jalen Suggs, obviously, as we get closer to the October 21st deadline. But obviously, Jalen Suggs is still waiting a contract extension and waiting waiting to have his future secured. But, honestly, Suggs was at, Jeff Weltman obviously didn't say much about it. He only said that Jalen Suggs is important to who we are and our identity. And, we've been in contact with his representatives, but we're not going to comment beyond that. Jalen Suggs also seemed to be very optimistic that something will get done, but was leaving it in the hands of his representation. He was happy to be back in the gym. And, Jalen, obviously, he has really reconnected with his faith over the last few years, and that's really empowered him and really given him a lot of strength. And he said, what he said was he was given a lot, and we'll talk more about the point guard question later this week. He said during Media Day that he was given a lot early in his career, and he wasn't ready for it. And, in his mind, God gave him an injury to hit the pause button and allow him to become ready for the responsibility, to allow him to be ready for the season that he had last year. And he is eager to take on more of the playmaking responsibility. He said he worked a lot on his ball handling, a lot on kind of cleaning up some of the mistakes and cleaning up some of the decision-making that, led to some skepticism about the Magic's plan to have him be the point guard. And look, I have speculated that I think that the Magic and Suggs essentially have a deal done, and that there's a little bit of, hey, let's see how he looks in camp. Not, we have faith in him, but let's get a couple, let's hold off on negotiations, come back to it on this date, probably like Thursday or Friday, take a look at him in camp, and then make a decision. But, look, I think Jalen Suggs is going to be on the Magic for a long time. I think Jalen Suggs expects to be on the Magic for a long time. I think the Magic expect him to be on the Magic for a long time. They're going to get something done. I really think that it's just a matter of just, dotting T's, crossing I's. Crossing T's and dotting I's. I did that intentionally. But, that was a recurring kind of story underneath things. Obviously, like, this is Magic, we're all eager to see this team play. Media Day is great. It's fun. It has all those elements. But, like, what's always kind of stood out about this Magic team is, for as young as they are serious about their work. For as young as they are and how much fun they seem to have, they are very serious and very ambitious about what they're capable of doing and what they could accomplish. And this is a team that I think is happy to be back in the building together. A lot of those players are at UCF Colorado at the Bounce House this weekend. They did a workout. It appears they did a workout trip in Los Angeles a couple weeks ago as well. That's where some of those photos that have been circulating around the internet came from. This is a group that is really eager to get back to work. And I think that is still the biggest thing that stands out about this Magic team, is they are ready to get back to work. They want to work. They want to play hard. They want to play together. They want to do all these things. They are ready to go. They are ready to play. And I think that is obviously exciting. That's what you want to hear as a fan. That's what you want to hear as an organization, that your team is eager to go. But, I think that just generally, this is a group that is, I think I said this yesterday, if you would have told them that they had to, that they were ready to start another season on June 1st, they would have been like, absolutely, let's go. We want to keep this thing rolling, even though we just lost in the playoffs. Like, they were ready to go in June. They are very eager to start. They're very optimistic about what they have. They like, you can sense the confidence. This isn't just bravado now. This isn't just like, we're ready to make this step. They believe that they left. I think they believe they left something on the table last year, and it was just inexperience. And they're ready to grow and ready to show how much they've grown. And this is a group that's ready to go. And obviously Tuesday, we're going to get our first look at practice. We're going to hear from them after first practice. We'll see a preseason game from them next Monday. Don't forget the live show at 7:00 after the Magic Pelicans game. It's it's going to be fun. Like we're all obviously looking forward to seeing this Magic team take the floor and seeing this Magic team take those next big steps. But that's media day. It's I love media day. I love seeing everybody. Love being back in the gym. It's a lot of nothing. It's a lot of talk. It's time to get to work. It's time for the season to begin. It's time for training camp. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of my sound podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, including an early look at my post from Media Day, you can check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to get all the latest from around the league on Media Day with Locked On NBA, where the local experts keep you updated daily on all the biggest storylines ahead of the season. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to do it for me, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic, of course, it's the first day of training camp. We'll get a report on what the Magic did in camp, how they're looking, as much as we can tell, and what the Magic are focused on as they begin the work. That's what matters, the work. Until then, though, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, it's been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.